Good stuff. Hey, thanks for your company. Look forward to seeing you next time on The Chase Australia. Hey.
The plan to reopen Australia tonight, stranded citizens finally coming home. Now the Prime Minister's plan to free up the country by Christmas. Qantas says flights to Europe and the US could still be a year away. Mute button at the ready. Trump and Biden face off in their final election debate. COVID contradictions rules for churches, gyms and restaurants, but mixed messages for footy fans. Anger boils over in Melbourne as frustration turns to violence. Dangerously close, toddlers run toward traffic from a childcare centre. Sharks circling off Bondi, swimmers totally unaware. And on the prowl, grand final fever has Panthers fans ready for history.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Michael Usher.
Good evening. State borders open in time for Christmas. The National Cabinet today agreeing on a path to get the country moving again, but WA is still refusing to budge. Scott Morrison says he also wants all Australians stuck overseas to return home by then, as the first chartered plane from the UK landed in Darwin.
Stranded no more. The end of a long wait for 161 returning Australians, young.
What are you looking forward to?
The beach.
The beach, yes.
And young at heart.
I've got a husband who's hopefully happy to see me back.
Boarding in London for the long haul home, the first of 8 repatriation flights over coming weeks, landing in Darwin this afternoon and bussed for 2 weeks quarantine at nearby Howard Springs, in disused workers' cabins with air conditioning, pool and walking trails.
And welcome home is my message to you.
The government says more than 26,000 Australians remain overseas, 2,800 of them deemed vulnerable.
We want to get them home by Christmas, and that's what we're working to achieve.
At today's National Cabinet, Queensland agreeing to quarantine 150 more each week, WA 140. The great majority of those still arriving in Sydney, and none through lockdown Melbourne. But the Premier says its airport could reopen to returning Australians before Christmas.
That's certainly our aim. Yes, that's certainly our aim.
The leaders today also seeking expert advice on when home quarantine would be a safe option, and for universities, on-campus quarantine for foreign students.
There is no undue haste here. There are risks here.
Christmas remains a target too for state border reopenings, except WA, although Scott Morrison says he hasn't given up hope of all internal barriers coming down.
Certainly 7 out of the 8 states and territories will be open, and that'll be a great day for Australia. You never know. There might be 8.
Mark Riley, 7 News.
And Qantas today put international travellers on notice. Flights to the US and UK are not likely to resume for another 12 months, and even then, only with a vaccine. At the airline's AGM, the economic impact was laid bare as workers demand jobs be protected.
With the Qantas AGM forced online by COVID, transport workers had a mock version, including a fake CEO, Alan Joyce, accusing board members of staying silent over the airline's big job losses.
In a desperate time like this, we take all the wings off.
As shareholders were warned, the Qantas COVID recovery plan has been set back by border restrictions.
There is some frustrating inertia around the Queensland and Western Australian borders. This inertia doesn't seem to be based on the actual health risk,
leaving the struggling airline's domestic capacity at 30%, half of what was hoped for by now.
This delay has resulted in $100 million negative impact on earnings.
But no decision yet on another 2,000 job cuts. Ground handlers.
He is using the cover of the pandemic to sack workers.
All going well with border reopenings, the Qantas boss hopes to regain 50% of the airline's business by Christmas in what would be a booming domestic market. Baby steps internationally, starting in a regional bubble. By early next year, Qantas may fly to new destinations like Taiwan, South Korea and some Pacific islands, but maybe not until the end of 2021, before long-haul journeys to the US and United Kingdom.
It's going to need a vaccine, given the high prevalence of the virus in both of those locations.
And those still waiting for their COVID refunds, Qantas says by Christmas. Chris Marr, 7 News.
A little less sniping and a lot more substance. Still, the final debate clash between Donald Trump and Joe Biden was a spectacle. The rivals sparring fiercely at times over divisive issues of race and the pandemic. The new mute button to stop interruptions appeared to work, with a more measured president on show.
And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID.
A debate night dominated by coronavirus and how a president who's had it handled it.
Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
And I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does.
People are learning to die with it.
Both fired up over finances and counterclaims of corruption.
The horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life.
Then he's a corrupt politician. All right. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby.
Rivals at odds on foreign policies and relationships with dictators.
Having a good relationship with leaders of other countries is a good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get to.
That's like saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe.
Bold declarations on America's racial divide.
I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire.
Unlike last time, this moderator had a mute button and kept them mostly on topic.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
Even before this debate went to air, more than 40 million Americans had cast their ballots. But for those still undecided, tonight was a brief moment of civility and substance.
Much more rational debate than the first one. Got a chance to speak to the American public.
Who'll decide America's destiny in less than a dozen days. In Nashville, Tennessee, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
The easing of more pandemic restrictions has sparked confusion with some Sydney-siders unsure of what's allowed and what's not. Today's new rules permit bigger numbers at churches and gyms, as well as pubs and restaurants.
Cheers, Sydney. With no new local cases of COVID, cheers. Sydney is celebrating.
I'd like to see the worst is behind us and just get better.
30 people now allowed to gather outside. Houses of worship can host up to 300. Gyms no longer needing a COVID marshal if they have fewer than 20 patrons, while pubs and restaurants can book tables of 30.
It was always a bit harder to manage those bookings, the slightly larger bookings of 12 to 15. So now we can actually take those bookings more comfortably rather than turn them away.
A win for publicans, but not yet for private residents who can still host just 20 people.
You need consistency. That's the biggest problem. Everyone's confused. Can I or can't I?
I just think, there are so many inconsistencies here, and I think the government really does need to better spell out why it's making the decisions it is.
Data shows you are more likely to be infected in a home by someone you know. In fact, it's such a high transmission area, the Chief Health Officer recommends having no more than 10 visitors at a time. 40,000 will be allowed to head to the NRL Grand Final this weekend. The Transport Department and Minister for Western Sydney want fans to drive.
If you can drive and take your vehicle there, there's plenty of parking, or use an Uber or something else.
We're encouraging people to drive if you can, plenty of parking, make sure you allow extra time to travel.
While the Sports Minister is taking and encouraging a different route.
There's also a bit of an emphasis on avoiding public transport, is that the case?
No, absolutely not. We're asking if you're going to catch the train or the bus, make sure you wear your mask. We're asking people to wear their masks and again, practice COVID safety practice.
Amelia Brace, 7 News.
Police horses have been attacked at an anti-lockdown rally in Melbourne. The ugly scenes show one of the animals being punched and then kicked by a protester, while another hits a horse with a pole. Hundreds of demonstrators and police faced off in a running battle over that city's lockdown. The wild crowd was eventually contained by a ring of officers. The cousin of a gangland figure shot dead on Monday has been stabbed in prison. Let's go live now to Robert Avadia at John Moroney Correctional Centre at Berkshire Park. Rob, good evening. Now, this heightens fears of a gang war.
Yeah, Michael, it certainly does to a certain extent. Whenever the surname Hamzy is thrown around in underworld circles, then chaos does tend to ensue. This afternoon, it was Mohammed Hamzy who was stabbed here 3 times with what we believe was a makeshift wire, potentially a coat hanger. The man accused of brawling with him is Mohammed Houri.
Coming to you with a 35-year-old male, 3 stab wounds to the chest.
Now, this is Hamzi in 2013, having survived a presumed attempt on his life in which his cousin was shot dead. His other notorious cousin is Bassem Hamzi, currently housed in Supermax. Now, only 4 days ago, Bassem's brother Mejid was shot dead outside his home. So right now, organised crime specialists are trying to determine whether they are linked. For the moment, they suspect this might just be an isolated brawl, however. Tonight, the prison is in lockdown nonetheless, and Mohammed Hamzi is under police guard in hospital, Michael.
OK, Robert Avadia, thank you for that. Takata, the company behind a global airbag scandal, could now be at the centre of a large-scale seatbelt recall. Chinese-owned Joyson took over Takata in 2018 and now believes false data from its seatbelt factory has been used to pass European safety standards. The company provides seatbelt webbing for 40% of the Japanese car market and 30% worldwide. Defective parts could lead to as many as 9 million seatbelts being recalled, significantly impacting Australian drivers. Federal police have swooped on dozens of men nationwide and rescued 16 at-risk children after smashing another big pedophile ring. Detectives say materials seized included some of the worst imagery they've seen, with both predators and their young prey online more than ever during COVID lockdowns.
44 men aged 19 to 57. Any could have been the bloke next door. A forklift driver, shelf stacker, construction boss, a truck driver, even, in Queensland, a policeman.
We have a battle on our hands which is growing exponentially.
The 12-month investigation, codenamed Operation Molto, was sparked by a tip from foreign intelligence agencies. Thousands of men using cloud-based storage to share child abuse material, some of it produced in Australia.
Some of the worst child abuse material online.
Of the 44 charged, most were from Queensland and Victoria. 8 in New South Wales. Every state in the ACT saw arrests. Simultaneously, 16 children nationwide had to be removed from harm.
And Molto is ongoing and is likely more offenders will be charged.
That as the new $60 million centre to counter child exploitation was opened, amid revelations that some of the material seized was produced by notorious jailed Australian paedophile Peter Scully years ago. Images of the rape and torture of girls just 18 months old. The Federal Police say there has been a surge in recent activity online from some of these offenders. In fact, it's almost nearly doubled. The reason? Well, they suspect COVID and the offenders having more time at home. So much traffic, the dark websites they use were crashing from the demand. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Dashcam video has captured the heart-stopping moment 2 toddlers escaped a Gold Coast childcare centre, almost running into traffic on a busy highway. Students walking past thankfully saved them just in time. The children had wandered through an unlocked gate. The childcare centre is now under investigation. There are calls for the entire Australia Post board to be stood down over the gifting of designer watches. Today, another high-paid public servant was caught out, the Prime Minister conceding he may need a full investigation into their pay and benefits.
Another day and another highly paid public servant stood down. James Shipton caught claiming $118,000 to do his tax. High-paid public servants put on notice.
I think they got it with a rocket.
Yesterday, the boss of Australia Post was stood aside over a $12,000 Cartier watch scandal. Christine Holgate couldn't be raised at her luxury Mossman pad today to answer questions about her thank you gifts for 4 executives. Now there are calls for the entire board to be sidelined.
The membership are horrified as we are.
What's extraordinary here is that the board are let off scot-free.
Ms Holgate herself enjoys luxury watches, yesterday wearing an 18-carat diamond-encrusted Bulgari watch, which retails for $48,300. Her total pay in 2019, $2.5 million, dwarfed by her predecessor, Ahmed Fahor, taking home $6.8 million. Within Australia Post, outrage was clear. One worker using the official Twitter account to vent. Don't forget about the behind-the-scenes and customer support workers. My wrist is light. While Christine Holgate has been stood aside as the investigation into the watch scandal plays out, she'll continue to receive her full salary. Ashley Hanson, 7 News.
It's been revealed Premier Gladys Berejiklian personally approved grants worth tens of thousands of dollars in Daryl Maguire's electorate while she was in a relationship with him. Today, 2 senior staff in her office faced a parliamentary inquiry which heard documents about grants tied to a different program had been shredded.
The Premier's former right-hand woman in the spotlight.
During your time as Chief of Staff, were you aware that the Premier was in a relationship with Daryl Maguire?
That's my point. I don't actually believe that is a lawful question.
Mr Maguire's electorate awarded tens of thousands of dollars worth of grants from a discretionary fund dished out by Gladys Berejiklian.
Are you aware of the Premier making any disclosures about her relationship with Daryl Maguire before approving these funds?
No, I'm not.
Labor says it's a conflict of interest, but the Premier maintains it's not.
She didn't disclose the relationship. I don't know how many more examples we need to see in terms of a breach of the Ministerial Code of Conduct before this Premier resigns.
The Premier's staff called before the parliamentary inquiry to explain why a separate council grant scheme didn't have any formal paperwork. Staff revealing documents were destroyed.
And how did you dispose of those working advice notes?
It's likely that they would have been shredded.
Electronic copies deleted too. The explanation from the Premier's policy advisor, it was part of her records management process, saying no one had instructed her to do so. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
An incredible sight off Bondi today. 2 grey nurse sharks spotted feeding on a large school of salmon. In the middle of it all, swimmers quite unaware of what was beneath. The drone also captured stingrays, dolphins and seals, really making the most of the free lunch. Well, there's footy fever at the foot of the mountains tonight as Penrith gears up for Sunday's grand final showdown. A new generation of supporters among thousands ready to cheer the young team in a game that almost did not happen.
At Nepean Hospital, newborn babies are very quickly placed in the path of greatness.
We'll be watching it in our lounge room with our new baby boy and Panther fan Hayes.
Current era Panthers champions were born right here. Today, under COVID restrictions, frontline health workers celebrated them.
Go the Panthers!
17 years since their last grand final victory, a win seems like destiny for the young Panthers squad on what will be Nathan Cleary's 100th match, a possible 3rd grand final victory.
Never been, the most consistent team all year.
In the city centre, the fans are consistent. One team is on everyone's minds.
Go the Panthers.
Let's go, Penrith! Let's go, the Reds! We can do it, boys! Woo!
Across state lines, Cam Smith is public enemy number 1, a single Storm supporter on High Street.
I must admit the Penrith people have been pretty good about it.
With most fans watching from home, for Penrith supporters it's really about how much you can compensate outside the stadium. And this year, size matters more than anything.
Everyone in Penrith is behind them, but they're behind the community.
Battle lines are being drawn inside ANZ Stadium. On the menu for game day, Panther burgers and Melbourne meringue. If there's a win on Sunday, an unofficial Monday public holiday in Penrith has been proposed and a victory written into history.
I'll find a place for the Panthers, mate.
Yeah, maybe on your eyeball.
Yeah, put it under there or something like that, 2020, see how we go.
Tom Saker, 7 News.
Well, unfortunately for the fans, the weather's not looking ideal. Angie Asimus is here now. Angie, good evening. A grey footy finals weekend.
Yes, Michael, another dose of today's conditions would have been perfect for footy fans, but it is not to be. That change has edged into inland parts of the state already. In yellow, we have the growing warning zone here for damaging winds, hail and heavy rain. Ahead of that change, it was a warm day, top of 31 degrees inland at Canamble, 30 for Parkes. On the coast, though, it's remained fine and a little bit cooler, tops in the low to mid 20s for the east. The grey skies will reach the metro region, though, and that is most likely to happen tomorrow afternoon, with the rainfall really set to last all weekend. Over the 2 days, we could see around 20 millimetres locally, and that system is not tracking anywhere just yet. Details of a very soggy week ahead soon, Michael.
All right, Angie, thank you. Well, stranded on a rock-face rescue cruise called in after the break, a delicate operation to save a woman on our northern beaches. Black Summer arsonist police make their move on a suspected fire bug. Gas pipe disaster, the deadly explosion caught on camera. Black market baby formula, more than 1,000 stolen tins seized in Sydney raids. And soon in sport, our inside look at why the Panthers are on the verge of a footy dynasty.
7 News brought to you by Industry Super Funds.
We're working on something bigger than we've ever done before. It's bigger than this, and this, and even this. We're creating over 200,000 jobs by investing in Australia. That'll help get our super and the economy growing again. And if you're with one of these, you're a big part of it.
We're getting shot at! Stop panicking.
The only way out is to quit.
Go without me. Go. You are a liability!
Everyone has their breaking point.
You get back on that log or you give me your number. Make a decision now.
SAS Australia, Monday, 7:30 on 7.
The Art of Living sale is in its final days. For a limited time, save up to 50% on the award-winning iconic Jasper sofa.
So why buy ordinary furniture when you can come home to King furniture?
Hurry, final days.
I'd like a bar of chocolate, please. It's for my mum.
Your change.
Happy birthday, Mum.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Straight from the world's best plant scientists comes Scott's Performance Naturals, a range of soil and plant foods made from 100% natural ingredients to grow your plants twice as big. Scott's Performance Naturals. Incredible results, naturally.
Like any parent, I used to wonder what my kids got up to when I wasn't home. Thanks to MyPlace's motion sensors, I now know they do absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. I mean, they don't even get off the couch.
To beat petrol, you have to think a little differently. Think outside with the industry-leading Ego Power Plus blower. Inspired by advanced aeronautic technology, it performs better than any petrol-powered blower without the noise, fuss or fumes. Ego, power beyond belief.
It's time to reboot 2020. To hit the road. Swap your indoors for the great outdoors. Love caravan and camping, love New South Wales.
A bushwalker had to be rescued from Clontarf this afternoon after slipping over an embankment onto a rocky ledge. The 38-year-old woman fell 3 metres, landing on her hip, and had to be winched into a rescue chopper by specialist paramedics. She was taken to Royal North Shore Hospital in a stable condition. 2 men have been charged with stealing more than 1,300 tins of baby formula bound for the international black market. Police raided a home in Greystanes and a storage facility in Homebush where they found boxes full of formula as well as other pharmaceutical items, including vitamins, pawpaw ointment and electric toothbrushes.
The monetary value of the products seized yesterday by Auburn Police was $100,000.
Both men were granted bail to face Burwood Court next month. Well, Western Sydney can breathe a little easier as we head into another menacing bushfire season, with police today charging a man suspected of lighting 5 big fires in the area last summer. Detectives knocked on the man's Richmond door this morning after watching him for months.
As 5 separate fires raged across Penrith and Richmond on December 3 last year, Shane Andrews' vehicle could be seen driving between the hotspots at exactly the same time.
Hello, how you going?
The 39-year-old unemployed Richmond man was this morning arrested at home and charged with 5 counts of deliberately lighting a fire.
The actions of this individual were reckless. They show complete disregard to the community, property and life.
One of the fires came close to a school which was almost evacuated.
It's just a strange place for it to kick off.
Another that night came very close to the aircraft fuel supply for the Richmond RAF base.
We're coming into another bushfire season. A person like this on the street posed such a risk, which is why we threw the resources that we did at it, and the result today has been fantastic.
Police intercepted several calls where Andrews allegedly tried to create alibis, in one asserting he was at work when the fires were lit. Police also put flyers in the mailboxes of his neighbours asking for information about the December 3 fires. That then prompted Mr Andrews over the telephone to ask his friends to take them all out of their mailboxes. Andrews will be back in court next month. Evan Batten, 7 News.
A gas pipe explosion in Thailand has killed 3 people. A dash camera caught the moment of the eruption, debris falling as the driver hits reverse. A 36-year-old woman was killed at the scene. 2 others died in hospital. Another 28 were hurt. As many as 10 homes were damaged by that blast, which started in a gas pipe that leads to that industrial estate. A robber in Chile has set a new and very unwanted record. This is just one of the 116 times he's been arrested for crimes of violent robbery, incitement and assault. Despite the lengthy rap sheet, attempts to keep the 23-year-old behind bars have been denied. His most recent break-in resulting in overnight house arrest. Terrifying crash has been caught on camera. Dashcam recorded that moment. Another four-wheel drive travelling down a windy mountain road in the US state of Colorado. But out of nowhere, a Jeep Wrangler rolls out of control in front of it. The driver managed to jump out before it plummeted down the mountain, but she was seriously injured. The bus driver on his phone before a deadly accident. Just ahead, harrowing details from witnesses as the accused faces court. Royal revelations why new documents could spell more trouble for Prince Andrew. Yes, we can. The Western Sydney bus makers making a big shift for a cleaner future. And Titanium made how cutting-edge technology gave this rescue dog a new leash on life.
This Saturday is one perfect day of sport. Wow! Grand final day is here, and you can see it all only on 7. It all starts with a special edition of Weekend Sunrise, followed by the grand final brunch live. Then, the 100th running of the Cox Plate is live and free on 7. And the grand final under lights for the first time ever. The Tigers versus the Cats.
Who'll be holding the plate? Who will be raising the cup?
Grand final day is live and exclusive to 7.
Hey, so then.
Farlap or Winks? Mighton Power or Kingston Town? Who will you be backing in the Ladbrokes greatest ever Cox Plate? Watch the running of the race this Friday night at 8:30 on 7-2. Ladbrokes, back yourself.
No matter how you care for their skin, take comfort that new Huggies Ultimate is our best care for skin. Now with our first ever plant-derived liner wrap, made from renewable sources. Huggies, be comfortable in your skin.
Save up to 10% on your first year's premium when you get a new Allianz home insurance policy online. And join thousands of satisfied Allianz customers. Search for your quote today.
Invest with Latrobe Financial, Australia's multi-award-winning wealth manager, returning a current variable rate of 4.5% reviewed monthly on a 12-month investment. Make your money work harder for you. Call 13 80 10.
When you don't want to leave your car, choose Domino's new car park delivery for no extra charge. Try it today and get 50% off premium or traditional pizzas. Bring it in.
The Nick Scali Lounge Sale ends Sunday. Save up to half price on a great range of selected items. Add style and comfort to your home. Shop in store or online. The Nick Scali Lounge Sale ends Sunday.
Farlap or Winks? Mighton Power or Kingston Town? Who will you be backing in the Ladbrokes greatest ever Cox Plate? Watch the running of the race this Friday night at 8:30 on 7-2. Ladbrokes, back yourself.
How's that for serenity?
Can care be better at home?
Oh, it's sanctuary. Your home's a bit of a sanctuary. Yeah, for me, rehab at home, it gave me a huge amount of flexibility to be able to do the things I wanted to do. It allowed me to unstress and be in the moment in your house in your own comfort zone, which was really good for me and my state of mind.
Search Medibank at Home to see how we're creating better choices for our members.
Welcome back. Some breaking news now. The Old Prince's Highway is closed near Wollongong due to a truck crash at Helensburgh. The driver of the B-double lost control while turning on a roundabout, crashing into several trees. He's been taken to Sutherland Hospital with minor injuries. The road, we're told, is closed in both directions. That's near Parks Street. A Sydney bus driver has cried in court as a jury was played vision of a deadly crash with him at the wheel, and police accuse Lewis Rojas of being distracted when he hit the delivery workers in Kingsgrove.
Lewis Rojas might feel uncomfortable in front of a camera, but scrutiny from the camera on board his bus in January 2019 provides far less comfort. The pictures were played to a jury the moment it ploughed into a stationary scooter and pillion at Kingsgrove.
The guy's moving, but he just got collected by a bus. He was on a motorbike.
Uber Eats workers Kwan Wei Chen and Supo Su were hurled into oncoming traffic.
Is he awake?
He's awake, but
is he breathing?
He's breathing.
Right, okay.
Both died at the scene, one beneath Ting Ting Zhu's car. The rider went under my car before I could react. I was terrified. I just continued to cry. Jennifer Taseska and her partner Antonio Boleski also watched it happen. The victim was airborne and landed in front of me. Prosecutors allege in the short trip between depot and impact, Rojas was distracted by a panel, his seatbelt, his glasses, the side mirrors and his phone. The breach was so serious it created a danger to other persons in the vicinity.
Each witness to the crash gave differing perspectives today on exactly what they saw and how they felt about it given their vantage point, but they all agreed on one thing: it happened toward the end of dusk, neither light nor dark, and visibility was fine.
Rojas' lawyer told the jury it had to be proven his driving was dangerous at the time of the impact. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
A senior UTS professor accused of mounting a campaign of harassment against herself has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Police claim Diane Jolly, the Dean of Science, sent threatening letters to herself, sparking a private investigation that cost the university more than $150,000.
No comment at this stage. I'm sorry, the matter's before the court, so thank you.
Professor Jolly will face a trial in June next year. They are the documents she did not want the world to see, but today hundreds of pages of testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell, the one-time girlfriend of deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, were released. She's accused of helping Epstein traffic underage girls, but denies she ever saw him or their friend Prince Andrew do anything wrong.
While Ghislaine Maxwell sits in jail, her lawyers have fought and failed to prevent the release of 465 pages of documents, the transcript of a 2016 deposition where she admits ordering massage therapists for her lover Jeffrey Epstein. But I never saw any inappropriate underage activities with Jeffrey ever, calling a key accuser, Virginia Roberts, an awful fantasist. But amid the transcript, it's claimed one name is missing.
Andrew's name is actually blacked out, but you can piece together from the circumstances and from the questions that are asked.
Including a visit by the Duke of York to Maxwell's London home in 2002, where Roberts claims as a 17-year-old she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew. Did you observe blank going into a room with Virginia alone in your townhome? I cannot recall. As I have said, no. Did blank ever tell you that he had sex with Virginia Roberts? He did not.
Maxwell, at several instances in the deposition, says that she cannot remember certain activities that Andrew was accused of participating in, but she does flatly deny procuring any underage sex partners for him.
Authorities accuse Ghislaine Maxwell of lying. Prince Andrew has long denied any wrongdoing, but royal watchers say being dragged back into the spotlight in this way will only further hamper his efforts to return to frontline royal duties. With the accused sex trafficker's trial due to begin next June. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Australian researchers are working to settle the debate around a controversial drug spruiked by Donald Trump. The president's endorsement of hydroxychloroquine led to concerns about its safety. Well, now Melbourne scientists are trying to find out once and for all if it can help in the fight against coronavirus.
And I think there's an element of harm to dismiss the drug if it actually if it's got a potential role to play in preventing healthcare workers from getting COVID-19.
If the drug is shown to work, it could also be used in aged care settings to protect our most vulnerable. A bus company in Western Sydney is rebuilding after the COVID crisis and, like many, has had to diversify. It set its sights on growing the local manufacturing sector by moving away from diesel vehicles and instead building a clean energy fleet.
At a workshop in St Mary's, an Australian-owned company is building its own line of clean energy buses.
Zero-emission electric bus, the very first element sitting right beside us, is going to be on the road in 2 weeks' time. We've been developing it for 3 months now.
The company was founded more than 60 years ago, specialising in diesel engines. It's now diversified. 4 electric and 1 hydrogen-powered bus are in the process of being made.
Chinese buses were coming into the country. The European chassis aren't developed electrically yet, so it was time to compete as an Australian.
80% of the material to make the buses is sourced right here in Australia. The company has the capability to make 400 buses a year, but it's not just about breaking into the Australian market. Eventually, the company wants to export the product overseas.
Every single order we get for an additional bus will be a job.
The New South Wales government has announced it will shift its 7,000 diesel buses to electric vehicles.
Our preference is to use local manufacturers.
The opposition wants a guarantee. It's calling for legislation to be introduced that would make the government choose state-based companies, not just for the buses, but all major manufacturing projects.
It's making sure the glass and the steel and the plastic are all created here in New South Wales.
Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Well, once a ritzy department store, one of Sydney's most historic buildings, is getting a big facelift. After the break, a rare look inside the city's home of justice. The school principal with no qualifications, how he taught for decades before getting caught. Taking flight, the new fleet of bushfire weapons get an early workout.
In sport, he's even better than me as Storm superstars high praise for his Panthers rival.
And anyone out and about for a weekend of grand final footy should be prepared for some rain. Details soon.
Perfect for Palm Springs and Aussie living.
Low maintenance and high impact.
How to make the most of indoor-outdoor living. New, better homes. Next up.
From your backyard to your home, an HSBC home loan can help. From looking to the future to cherishing the now. Whether you're expanding or refinancing, with our low 2.59% rate, together we thrive.
Every side is the best side of the Hyundai Tucson. Now with a $1,500 bonus during Hyundai's 2020 model run-out event. Test drive the Tucson at your local Hyundai showroom today.
My wife likes her office to feel like an Arctic tundra. The dogs prefer the surface of the sun. I'm all about habitable for humans. With my hair, everyone gets what they want.
The Nick Scali Lounge Sale ends Sunday. Save up to half price on a great range of selected items. Add style and comfort to your home. Shop in store or online. The Nick Scali Lounge Sale ends Sunday.
When you reach for pork roast, who knows where you'll end up? Get some pork on your fork.
We want you to celebrate your transformation. Share your Dulux project at dulux.com.au and win. Take on anything and celebrate.
Boys.
Watch Sky Racing live, anywhere. Now available on Sportsbet.
Get all the news delivered for just $1 a day for the first 6 months. Subscribe to the Daily Telegraph and get full digital access, plus 7-day newspaper home delivery for $1 a day. Search Daily Telegraph offer today.
Save up to 15% on your first year's premium when you get a new Allianz Comprehensive Car Insurance policy online. And join thousands of satisfied Allianz customers. Search for your quote today. Every side is the best side of the Hyundai Kona, now with a $750 bonus during Hyundai's 2020 model run-out event. Test drive the Kona at your local Hyundai showroom today.
Tonight, the massive Marvel event. Avengers Age of Ultron, tonight on 7.
Let's have a look at finance now. The ASX 200 ended the week slightly lower, today closing down 7 points. Most sectors lost ground, but the big four banks performed well. Blackmore shares fell after former executive chairman and major shareholder Marcus Blackmore ended his 47-year tenure on the board. Our dollars tonight buying 71 US cents. Price of unleaded petrol's falling a bit across Sydney, averaging just under $1.16 a litre. There are savings across the city though. We've seen it for as low as $1.04 at Bonnyrigg. Well, last night we brought you pictures of the RFS's new aerial weapon to take on bushfires, and today the rest of the fleet was put on display. Firefighters put their choppers and water bombers through their paces in a training exercise at Richmond RAAF base.
Aircraft don't put out fires, firefighters on the ground put out the fires, but this gives an enormous capability to try and slow these fires down and make it safer.
The government's invested in almost $200 million worth of new equipment and infrastructure upgrades as part of its response to the bushfire inquiry. Well, it was once a famous department store and used as a movie set, and now 7 News can reveal the Downing Centre court complex is set for a multi-million-dollar facelift. Included in the upgrade, more courtrooms to try and clear the backlog of cases.
The Downing Centre, home to justice since the 80s, but back in its heyday, it was a high-end department store. The building even starred in a movie, Ladies in Black.
You must be the new jeune fille. Some help I can use during this season.
It was light and airy, full of fashion and lots of lovely sales girls and fashionable women.
It's a grand old dame. It's been here since 1908 and we're really giving it a new dress.
Set to undergo a major upgrade, starting with the historic awnings. Tie rods are tired, ornamental lion heads have lost their pride.
The building's been here since 1908. If we don't repair and restore those awnings, they will fall into worse disrepair and ultimately destroyed.
The court will also be expanded with 4 new state-of-the-art courtrooms added. Renovations will cost $10.6 million. Along with those new courtrooms, there'll be more interview rooms, a paint job and new bathrooms.
Well, the bathrooms here have been described as a crime scene.
The additional courtrooms will help process a backlog of cases. The workhorse of our legal system, the Downing Centre Local Court deals with around 27,000 criminal matters a year. Construction work should finish mid-next year. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
An old rescue dog's been given a second chance with vets and engineers working together to give him a titanium 3D printed leg bone. Seymour there had broken the leg years earlier and was living in quite a lot of pain. The technology has previously only been used on humans. You could say the operation has given Seymour a new leash on life. It certainly has. Well, a school principal with no qualifications who went undetected for nearly 50 years. Still to come, how he fooled some of the country's most prestigious schools and what is being done to stop it from happening again. Don't miss that story in this bulletin of 7 News. But first, Matt is here with sport. Matt, good evening to you. Funny old season, but finally, the grand final weekend is here.
Oh, good evening, Michael. Who would have thought a few months ago? Hey, good evening. It's gone so smoothly for the Panthers and Storm. We'll cross to both camps next and go deep inside the Panthers. Behind the 17-win streak, they're young men doing special things. And why they're even talking about Nathan Cleary before the AFL Grand Final.
Who's brave enough to take them on all at once?
Oh, this is big.
Who wants to be a millionaire champion?
He's won everything.
A world record winner of Sale of the Century.
You are quizzing royalty.
One by one, they will take them on.
I was on the chase.
How did you go?
I beat you.
For record money.
$150,000. Game on.
Beat the Chasers. Next Sunday at 7 on 7.
The Ladbrokes greatest ever Cox Plate is finally here. We're about to find out who really is the best of the best. Sit back and relax as we see 11 runners, previous winners of the Cox Plate, up against 3 of our greatest ever internationals. We'll end the debate tonight, here. Or will we? The first horse selected to run in the Ladbrokes greatest ever Cox Plate was the great mare Winx, and it's no surprise that she has been extremely popular with Ladbrokes punters. It's been a very long time since such generous odds were available for Winx to win any race, and she currently accounts for over half the Ladbrokes hold on the race. There has always been plenty of debate about how Frankel would fare had he been sent to Australia, and we'll get some answers tonight. Frankel recorded 14 wins from his 14 race starts in England, but he never ran in a high-pressure race like the Cox Plate. Can he keep his unbeaten record intact? Secretariat is another galloper that has been very popular with Ladbrokes punters, and is easy to see why. The United States Triple Crown winner destroyed both his rivals and the clock throughout his racing career, and his 31 lengths romp in the Belmont Stakes was truly remarkable. The final international wildcard, Deep Impact, hasn't been as popular with our Ladbrokes punters, but is another galloper that must be respected. Farlap has been kept very safe in the Ladbrokes market, and punters have taken the advantage of an opportunity to back Big Red in a race for the first time. They don't breed them as tough as Farlap anymore, and his big heart will be on display once again. We never thought we'd see a horse as good as Farlap, but then Tulloch emerged. There'll be plenty of racing purists keeping their eye on the battle between Farlap and Tulloch, and there are some experts who believe Tulloch could well blow his rivals away. The horse that has been sneaking under the radar somewhat incredibly is Kingston Town. Despite winning the Cox Plate on 3 occasions, Kingston Town is at double-figure odds to win the greatest ever Cox Plate. Everywhere you look, there is a fantastic storyline. Who will win the 3rd Cox Plate battle between Northerly and Sunline? Can might and power make the earth rumble again, leading from start to finish? Could So You Think shock them again and deliver another famous triumph for Bart Cummins? All those questions and more will be answered with the running of the Ladbrokes greatest ever Cox Plate tonight.
This Sport Report brought to you by Ned's Filter Form. Find your perfect match.
With 2 sleeps to go before their shot at premiership glory, Panthers legends have a challenge. Don't take it for granted. There'll be no chance of that for a team from so many backgrounds, united by special bonds.
At today's grand final lunch, the Panthers faithful toasted their legends and marvelled at their new stars.
The players are still coming through. There's another squillion of them out there as well, ready to go, and this sort of win keeps that spirit.
We've seen them win 17 straight, but to get to know this Penrith side, here's Liam Martin and Brent Naden.
It's pretty tight knit. We're probably the biggest pest in the team, so yeah.
Josh Mansell's social coordinator and fine collector. Where's the money going?
Don't know.
Source is looking after.
Source is looking after it. We haven't seen any of it.
Coach's son doesn't make you coach's pet.
Favouritism sort of thing. Yeah.
Probably works out to be worse than that.
Moses Leota's the quiet, humble family man. Values at the core of his team's bond.
For the grand final, yes. Yeah, my whole family will be there. I think it's just unreal to be here right now, yeah.
Through the pre-seasons and personal pain, they've grown together. Liam Martin can feel confident talking about his brother Jared, who took his own life.
If any of my mates are struggling, I wanted them to talk, and yeah, there's nothing to be ashamed of, like, if you are struggling.
Win or lose Sunday night, they're already heroes in rugby league heartland.
It doesn't matter what kind of race you are, what gender, like, it's got a place for everyone in the sport.
They've all come from places to know make every chance count.
Honestly, Michelle, it's the moment you go back to at the end of it all. What an opportunity that is. Let's hope they take it.
Yeah, wouldn't choose any other team.
Chief League reporter Michelle Bishop is live in Penrith with a Brave Storm legend. Michelle.
Good evening, Maddie. Look, if there's anyone at all that knows exactly what Nathan Cleary's going through this week, it's our very own Brett Camorley. Good evening, Brett. Now, at 23, you're a Clive Churchill medalist. You won a premiership. Nate's 22. How does he handle the next few days?
Oh, I think with the confidence he's played with 2020, he certainly showed some great resilience from a little setback early in the season. I think he's in career best form, and Penrith are relying on him on Sunday, and I think he'll go out full of confidence. He's had no setback in his career. When you're young, you're fearful and you just play what's in front of you.
Okay. Now this side, they're gunning for 18 straight. It is full of local juniors. Is it fair to say that Penrith fans can brace themselves for a long period of dominance?
Yeah, definitely. They've set the club up. They'll be around knocking on premierships for a number of years.
All right, thanks for your time, Brett. Matt, we will be hearing from Brett Kimmorley right across the week, and on Sunday we'll get who's going to win from him and why. Matt.
Thanks, Michelle. We'll see you over the weekend too. Now to the Storm, building quietly in their Sunshine Coast bubble. Nathan Spurling is there. Spurlo, they'll fly to Sydney tomorrow feeling very confident.
Yeah, they will, Matty. In fact, up here, they're known as the Sunshine Coast Storm now. The community has certainly embraced the side with open arms, and the team has thrived in their home away from home. They've lived up here for 4 months now with their families, found all sorts of ways to bond and become an even stronger unified force. We'll let Cameron Munster explain in his own unique way.
Knowing a lot more about people in this team and knowing where they're from and knowing their itches and their non-inches and just knowing how everyone ticks, and that's probably the reason why we're here today.
Now, there's also great respect for the Panthers. Munster rates Jerome Luai as the game's second best 5'8", behind only Cody Walker and even the Test number 6 himself. And while Cameron Smith is still undecided about his future, the Storm are hell-bent on sending their legendary skipper out with a premiership just in case, and the Storm will arrive back here on the coast about 2 a.m. on Monday. Matt?
Thank you, Spurlo. And Nathan Cleary's year has been so good he could influence tomorrow night's AFL Grand Final too. The Panthers halfback spent time with Richmond in the pre-season and drew special mention from Tigers skipper Trent Cotchin today.
It's been amazing to watch from afar their journey this year, and you know, it's always humbling when someone comes into your environment and might take one or two things away that may or may not help them.
Grand Final Day coverage starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow on 7 with the Cox Plate, then Richmond and Geelong tomorrow night. European Raider Magic Wand was scratched from the Cox Plate, while equal second favourite Armoury passed a vet inspection. The Wait for Age Classic is wide open.
If I had my choice, it would be Armoury. I just think it's a perfect draw, just such a healthy respect for the Aidan O'Brien team. It's the most open we've had in years.
Hugh Bowman knows all about winning the Cox Plate and will join Seven's coverage tomorrow. So the AFL Grand Final straight after the news tomorrow night. But what about Penrith, Michael? Great to see some of the other players get some attention too. So many stars in that team.
Oh, some terrific young guns. They're going to give the Sunshine Coast Storm a run for
Go
the
the
money.
Panthers, come on.
Go the Pennies for sure. Good on you. All right, Matt, thank you. Big day on 7 here tomorrow. A former top private school headmaster is facing jail after he admitted faking his qualifications to join the teaching profession. Neil Lenny's career of deception is a lesson for students and parents who may be the unknowing victims of a classroom con.
For 50 years, Neil Lenny taught at some of Victoria's most prestigious schools, backed by a resume littered with degrees and a self-proclaimed expertise in education.
So if you value serious learning and aim high, if you value being treated maturely and being prepared for university...
But it was all a lie. This con man of the classroom, in fact, dropped out of uni in the 60s and without a degree used his father's teaching registration to get a job in 1976. But it all unravelled earlier in the year. While applying for a job overseas, a background check uncovered the lies. Victorian police then charging him with criminal offences.
I think in Victoria that should probably raise some alarm bells in terms of their accreditation processes, but I'm really confident with what we have in place here in New South Wales.
The Education Minister says New South Wales has the highest standard of checks anywhere in the country.
It is quite a rigorous process, but it's important because we're talking about people who are responsible for educating our children.
In court this week, Neil Lenny pleading guilty to 4 counts of obtained financial advantage by deception. The 72-year-old now facing up to 10 years in jail. Cameron Price, 7 News.
65 of the state's best wines were celebrated today at the presentation of the exclusive ICC Sydney New South Wales Wine Awards. Wine of the Year went to 2018 Dairy Hill Semillon from a Hunter Valley vineyard, hit hard by both the bushfires and COVID-19.
Particularly given how stressful and difficult this year has been, could not be prouder to see a wine that we're so pleased with get up there and be recognised for what it is.
The winning wine is said to taste of kaffir lime and lemongrass. Now, Angie Asams is back with the forecast. Angie, hello again. Some grey skies this weekend.
Michael, today was the last of the sunshine for a good few days. Your full 7-day forecast is next.
Thunderstruck. Sydney and Queensland on high alert. The big weather event that has emergency crews braced. Essential details on Weekend Sunrise.
One little thing. What's one little thing going to do? What if that one little thing wasn't a lonely little thing? Instead, that one little thing was just one of lots of one little things that together can make big things happen. Then that one little thing can change the world. IKEA.
Right now, you can get the LDV T60 Auto for the price of the manual. Feels good, doesn't it? The LDV T60 4x4 Diesel Auto from just $28,990. Visit an LDV dealer today.
There's an unspoken promise to care for your pet. At Pet Barn, we'll help you keep it every day with same-day delivery and an instant price match promise. Visit Pet Barn today.
Why Violeta? Because when I get home, we can play crocodile on the floor. Violeta Easy Ring and Clean Turbo removes over 99% of bacteria with just water. Water and dirt go straight into the bucket. It can't be cleaner. Violeta, it feels great to feel at home.
Creating something that feels just right. That's an art. Precisely crafted and beautifully finished. All new Mazda CX-30. Everything just right.
Everyone knows Australia has 4 big banks, but the 5th biggest retail bank is regularly voted one of the most trusted brands in Australia, looks after more than 1.8 million customers and can be found in over 500 locations nationwide. So try Bendigo Bank, the better big bank.
You can't go past IGA for hundreds of low prices right across the store, like Nescafe Blend 43 coffee 250 gram $10.75 and Golden Circle Juice 2 litre varieties $3. Low prices at your local IGA.
Hey, babe.
Hey, I've been held up.
Where are you?
Why?
You sound different.
Do I?
Yeah, you do.
I'll see you soon.
What did you buy? Yeah. Me too.
The new T-Rock and T-Cross. You'll just want one. Volkswagen.
At Harvey Norman, get 5% back in Harvey Norman gift cards when you spend $500 or more on selected cooking appliances. That's 5% back on Fisher & Paykel, plus even more bonuses. 5% back on Belling cookers, plus massive cashback offer. 5% back on Electrolux, plus huge cashback on packages. 5% back on Smeg, plus cashback on selected ranges. 5% back on Westinghouse, plus cashback on Aspire packages. Plus, get 60 months interest free with bonus gift cards. Harvey Norman, everything for the heart of your home.
Go! It's a treat for your taste buds. So good. Salad in a soup, that's a surprise for the senses. I'm gonna love it. Pie that packs a punch.
The perfect picnic dessert.
And the herb garden with flavour to top it off.
This will keep me going for ages.
On new Better Homes, next up on 7.
The classic Holdens, banned from export. Our government's race to protect Holden's history and giving the icon a new home. 7 News at 6.
Tonight's 7 News headlines: stranded Australians have begun arriving home from the UK as the PM plans to reopen state borders by Christmas. COVID rules have been relaxed again. Bigger numbers allowed at churches, gyms and restaurants from today. A truck has lost control at a roundabout near Wollongong, closing the old Princes Highway at Helensburgh. Panthers fans are ready and roaring, revving their engines for a historic premiership tilt. Now Angie's back with the weather. And Angie, when are we expecting the rain to arrive?
Well, Michael, the showers should pick up from tomorrow afternoon. Today in the metro region, no hint of that. It was fine and warm, a top of 25.7 following a low of 18.1. Most coastal spots recorded similar conditions. 26 was the top at Manly, 28 for Cronulla. Fair bit warmer in our west with Camden and Penrith climbing to 31, a pleasant 25 for Katoomba. On the satellite, you can see a storm warning area in yellow here has popped up over most of inland New South Wales. A low pressure system over South Australia is the reason, and as you'll see tomorrow, it's moving east. So we are expecting widespread showers and storms across eastern parts of the state in particular tomorrow. Around the nation for your Saturday, Brisbane 27 degrees and a shower or two for the AFL Grand Final. Wet weather for all southeastern capitals as well. Overcast for Adelaide, 17 degrees, partly cloudy, 1 for Perth. Back home, that change moves to cover our entire state with rain and showers forecast from border to border. These will be moderate falls too, 10 to 20 millimetres expected across most centres. Temperatures will also be moderated under the clouds with most centres aiming for tops in the mid-20s. The metro region can also expect showers and a possible storm, most likely to pick up from the afternoon. We could see around 10 millimetres locally. Prior to that, it will be a fairly warm day, tops in the high 20s in our western suburbs, top of 23 for Bondi. With that wet weather also comes windy conditions. For Sydney, waters will see nor'easterlies at 20 to 30 knots, followed by a late evening southerly change, which will be gusty and cause temperatures to plummet. There are wind warnings spanning the length of the coastline as a result, with gales forecast for the Eden coast. For the city, it will be a warm night ahead. 19 is the forecast low, top of 26 degrees, with that wet weather developing from late morning and into early afternoon. That southerly moving up the coast tomorrow night will make for a chilly grand final day on Sunday. 17 degrees with showers. Then that wet weather looks pretty well set in all week. Falls could really vary from just a couple of millimetres getting up to more than 10 each day. So from tomorrow afternoon, the showers are set in. It is going to be a very grey weekend on the way, Matt and Michael.
That is a big change, 10 degrees between Saturday and Sunday.
Isn't it just incredible? So not the best for the grand final, but what can we do?
It is. Hopefully it goes in Penrith's favour. There you go. All right, Angie, thank you. 7 News for this Friday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. Weekend Sunrise from 7. I'm Michael Usher from all the team here. Thanks so much for your company. Have a great night.